I wish this weren't true, but when you grow up neglected and traumatized and getting gaslit by the grown-ups, you may have developed a blind spot where your discernment was supposed to be. And if your discernment had been free to develop in a healthy way, you'd have radar to tell when someone was being dishonest with you, or is not who they say they are, or is not who you imagine them to be. And this is horrible because this is exactly how so many of us get our hearts broken, dumped, disappointed, ghosted. When you have CPTSD, you can be totally broadsided by someone doing this to you. And when in reality, they were telegraphing the problem from early on. So my letter today is from a woman I'll call Jamila, and she writes, "Hello, Anna. I really hope to get your insight on this. I have a pattern of unsuccessful relationships due to childhood trauma. I meet someone who falls for me, and right after the honeymoon is over, they just dump me. I'm well aware of my pattern and decided in my latest relationship to change." All right, I've got the fairy pencil. I'm going to circle some things to come back to, but let's read through Jamila's letter all the way through, and then I'll come back and comment on what she says. All right. I met this guy on a dating app. He's 37 and I'm 30. Both of us never married before. We had an amazing chemistry, and at least this is what I think. He was taking it slowly, which made me feel secure about the relationship, unlike my previous patterns, where guys would love bomb me from the first week. He was so slow, though, that I thought he wasn't interested. I profiled him as an avoidant, and we met after 2 months of talking. He flew to my state. It was great. He seemed very shy, honest, direct. He was so secretive and hiding details, though. He didn't tell me his family name until 2 months of talking. When asked about why previous relationships didn't work, he refused to answer. Anyway, we met again after 3 weeks on the first date. It was perfect, but when we were saying goodbye, I hugged him, and I feel like it scared him. A couple of days after he went back, I asked him where we were in the relationship, and he panicked, and he said, "It will happen when the time is right, and I shouldn't ask, as men should initiate this." At this point, I just felt like everything fell apart, and he wouldn't talk again. But he talked and tried to get closer and say romantic things, unlike his habit. Okay, so the last part of this relationship is as follows, Jamila says. He went back to his country on a business trip. He stopped talking to me a week after he went back. He disappeared for 1 week and came back with excuses like his dad is in the hospital and other stuff. Every week he did the same. Deep inside, I felt he started another relationship with someone and kind of putting me on the back burner to see where it goes. After 2 months of this BS, a woman finally showed up on his social media. He only had me and a couple of relatives on his social media, so when I saw them following each other, my head was burning. I then asked him for clarification about our situation and said he needs to communicate with me. He never responded. I blocked him on social media, but I'm so devastated and don't know what I did wrong. I feel like no matter what I do, I will just keep choosing the wrong person. Jamila, I can help you. Don't you worry. Okay, I think you have pretty good perception, actually. All right, so you had said that you've had this history where you meet someone who falls for you, and then right after the honeymoon is over, they just dump you. And you're well aware of the pattern, and you wanted to change. So I don't have the details there. I don't know how you've managed those relationships, but there's like 2 main ways that that would happen. And one is that you're dating guys who don't have the intention of forming a relationship. They're really just looking for sex. Once sex happens, you start acting like somebody who wants a relationship because that's honest and perfectly fine, but that's what you're showing them and they don't want to be there for that. That would be one guess I have about why this pattern has happened in the past. And the other one is the possibility that you're doing something that you actually are very attractive to these people, but you're doing something where you're not who they thought you were. So I would just put in front of you something to think about, but you feel mystified by why this is happening. So you met a guy on a dating app. He's 37, you're 30. That's a very, marriageable combination. People can get married at any age, really, but that's a common time. Both never married before, had an amazing chemistry, or so you thought. and he was taking it very slowly, and you liked that. So this is what happens. You have one pattern and you're like, I did this other pattern and it was terrible, and now I'm doing the opposite thing, and then we're shocked that there can be problems in the opposite thing too, right? It happens. So he was so slow that you thought he wasn't interested. So I'm just going to say, I think that's possibly true. It's not always true. My husband was very slow, and he was slow to become truly interested, and he was the sort of person who did not give his heart until he was serious. And so from the outside, from where I stood, that seemed like what's wrong? But he needed time. So you profiled your guy as an avoidant. I think you might be right. I think that could be true. And we met after 2 months of talking, and then he flew to your state. And the fact that he flew to your state, it shows that there was an intention there to get to know you, that he wasn't just, I don't know. Okay, there is this tiny possibility that he was playing you, that he was never available. Like, is that possible? Was he always in a relationship? Is that why you couldn't know his name? Because that's what you said. He wouldn't tell you his last name. And when you asked about previous relationships that didn't work, he wouldn't answer. Maybe he was in his previous relationship. I'm just saying. Or maybe he was on a break from a relationship and got back together. Whatever it was, he definitely strikes me as somebody who wasn't being straight with you, that he wanted to sort of put his toe in and not be honest about where he was. And that's a very immature thing to do. Nobody finds great love by being sneaky and cagey and dishonest. That's not going to work. So at least if you're worried like he's off having the happy life, I would just say his behavior is the kind of behavior that will mess up any relationship that he's in. Maybe he'll change one day, but you're not going to wait for him. You're going to get on with just changing your life. It'll be great. So then you said it was perfect, but when we said goodbye, I hugged him and you felt like it scared him. So it was funny because you say perfect, but it wasn't perfect because you're telling me what wasn't perfect. He was secretive. He wouldn't tell you his last name. When somebody doesn't tell you their last name, I would say that is so that you cannot look them up on social media and you can't find out who they really are. I mean, I just think flying to meet with somebody and not letting them know your last name, it's a huge red flag. I don't think it was perfect, but your vision of how it could be if you could just sort of like wallpaper over the things like he wouldn't even tell you who he really was. That felt perfect. But you can only feel perfect at the beginning, like soon everything starts to hit you like a bucket of water. And that's what happened. You felt his energy when you gave him a hug. It scared him, right? Okay. So who knows? Who knows what that fear is? A couple days after he went back, you asked, where are we? And you needed some clarification. And he panicked and he said, that'll happen when the time is right. And you shouldn't ask men. So there's some kind of avoidance here. And I just suspect he is either he was always in another relationship. He's always been dating multiple people. A little bit possibly, I don't know, but possibly he's not actually heterosexual. Okay. And he maybe thinks he has to be, but he's not behaving like somebody who is emotionally available, physically available, and into you. So that's what you need to know about whether he matters. And so part of why this went on and why you got hurt was because you discounted the signs you were getting and the red flags that were showing to you. So you met again 3 weeks after the first date. Then that happened. He panicked. And then you felt like everything fell apart. You weren't allowed to ask him if he was interested. It was like, yeah, secret life. So, but then he talked and tried to get closer and say romantic things. So I noticed that happened after he was away from you and he was doing it online. And so sometimes people, they don't want to lose somebody, so they say what they need to say. And you said you felt like he was trying to, keep his options open or something. It does sound like that. He went back to his country on a business trip and he stopped talking to you the week after he went back. So, you can text somebody, you can use WhatsApp. There's no need to stop talking just because you've gone to another country. So he went for 1 week and came back with excuses like his dad is in the hospital and other stuff. Yeah, I think your take that actually there was somebody else, that sounds right to me too. Deep inside, I felt like he started another relationship. Okay, good intuition. put you on the back burner. He wanted to keep you in his back pocket in case that didn't work out. Yeah, I don't like this guy. So after 2 months of that BS, you saw a picture of a woman in his social media where previously only you and his family had been. And then you asked for clarification about that. And he ghosted you. He never responded. And you blocked him on social media. So good, you got that done, but now you're devastated and you don't know what you did wrong. And you feel like no matter what you do, you're going to keep choosing the wrong person. No, you can evolve this. So it's really normal for people with CPTSD to have a pattern like this. And to have it takes a little time. It's like quitting smoking, you make a little progress and then you fall back into it. Little progress, fall back into it. It's okay. And it can get a lot better for you. I promise you it can. But here's what happens is if you cannot wake up and learn to activate your red flag detector, it will be very difficult to stop this from happening again. Now, you didn't talk to me a lot about your background, but you don't have to. I can see what happened here. You learned to shut down your red flag detector so that you could tolerate whatever was going on in your life. And you need your red flag detector. And what that's going to mean is that you have to get very, very clear with yourself what red flags are and what are green lights. What are the signs that somebody is actually interested in you and available? And you don't have to read tea leaves to do this. You can actually ask them. If you're dating online, there is information that you can give up front. Now, a lot of people tell me, oh, you can't do that. It'll really push people away. Anybody who doesn't want to have a frank conversation about what your overall goals are for a relationship is not good to date. So if you're looking for a committed relationship, if marriage is what you're looking for, that goes front and center. And that's the deal. Because you don't date people who aren't open to that. The purpose of dating is to find out if they are the right person for what you are looking for. And so it's totally okay to have that front and center. And then you give room to the relationship and to the person to just kind of see what happens. And I like that you went slow in this thing. Going slow is really good. You get to get information about people. But it is hard with a long distance relationship because people can hide things. They cannot tell things. So that thing where he said, I'm not going to tell you my last name, but he was visiting your town. I could see the tremendous pressure not to make a big stink about it and be like, listen, if you're not going to, this is a red flag. And if you're not going to put this out there, I'm very concerned about you. I think we can't continue. After he's already flown to you, there's this artificial construct where you have to kind of keep it together. So that's hard, but that's, sometimes what you're dealing with. So that's why I very strongly suggest, and especially if you're going to do long distance and try to meet somebody and people are going to fly, that you are very straightforward about what you want and you ask the questions that you actually have. It's okay to do that. All right, so you thought maybe he wasn't interested, and sometimes if you're not feeling that somebody's interested, most of the time it means they're not. But it's true. Sometimes people can sort of hide that, but kind of they're unlikely to hide it so much if they're feeling it, and it's obvious that you would like them to feel that way, and you're sort of giving them that energy. So the hug scared him. He didn't want you asking where things were. He avoided that by saying men should initiate this. Well, maybe that's how he sees things, but because he was being so ambivalent and confusing, you had a legitimate question. So how are you going to have a good relationship with somebody who can't deal with that? See what I mean? You dodged a bullet, right? Then he stops talking to you after he goes back to his country, supposedly for work. And then there's the excuse his dad was in the hospital. Maybe. But, people can text. If they care about you, they will. And it wasn't, you guys had not been dating that much. It was like a lot of stuff online, a little bit on person. And so I just think you get to trust your gut, Jamila. You get to just go, it feels like he doesn't like me. It feels like he's not acting like somebody who's actually trying to build something with me. And if somebody really likes you, they don't really want you to get away. They don't want you in a lot of doubt whether they're coming back, and he filled you with that doubt. And I think why people do that, why they ghost, is it's embarrassing and hard to hurt somebody's feelings. And some people just don't have the guts to do it and to face it. And that's a very bad sign. Like, you don't want to end up married to somebody who lacks courage to that degree, right? You want somebody who's strong and straightforward and honest and whose behavior you can be proud of and who you can count on. And to get there, you might think, oh, I'll never have that. I've always had less, but you have to make room for it. You have to stop getting all that hurt feeling activated in you again and again and again, like that can't keep happening, or it's just kind of like how you are. It becomes it becomes your vibe when you meet people. And that's no good. You know, you want to have a vibe that reflects you in a state of security. And to actually be secure and be like, I don't need it to work out with you because I'm a prize. And if this isn't it, something else surely is. And it's good. It's good if people who aren't interested get out of the way. All right. So then the woman shows up on social media. Well, what a coward's way out. I suppose it's possible it wasn't really anything, but the combination of him not talking to you, I think that's what it was. And good luck to that lady. He's not a peach exactly. He's kind of dodgy and is not straightforward. And who knows if he's seeing somebody else. So you blocked him. Good. Goodbye. And that's what happened. So you need to improve your red flag detector. I've got some information about that. So first, what are the red flags you should be watching for when you're dating? I've got a download. You can get it for free right here. Click on this and we will send that to you. And then I've got a video about red flags and what to look for right beyond that. So I will see you very soon.